Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Damn Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Machado. Joined with me this week, Spencer Newell, Beaver Blitz contributor, and Davis Stone, Beaver Blitz writer. Hey guys, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have a lot to get to today's show. We missed last week because of the bye week. Hope you guys all had a good week. We have tons to talk about football and the coaching search. We're also going to talk some men's and women's basketball. As Davis and I were down at Media Day for men's basketball, and Spencer's been doing all of his backstories on both women's and men's basketball. We're going to talk a little bit about the Canzano report that came out, and we are joined actually right now. We're going to jump right into our special guest. I'm super excited as we look to bring more of outside football into the Beaver Blitz family here, and I'm excited to bring head wrestling coach Chris Pendleton in to the Damn Podcast. Coach Pendleton, how are you?
I'm doing good. Just got done with practice. I don't know much about football, but I can try to pretend.
No, you are good. We are gonna get you in and out. I'm just excited you could join us because football always gets all the attention. Football gets the buzz, but you know what? Oregon State has a damn awesome wrestling program. And I think back to, I'm old, but we had someone by the name of Les Gutches back when I was in college. And so I made it to a few wrestling meets myself back in college. So excited to bring you on because I want to talk. I want Beaver fans to get to know you a little bit and just what you're doing with the program. It's your fifth year. Is that correct? Fifth year? You're starting fifth year. You guys have won the Pac-12 2 out of 3 years. So doing some pretty amazing things. First of all, tell me about yourself and what you love about Corvallis.
Well, I actually, my first time in Corvallis, I believe, was 1999. Okay. And it was one of the places that made a good impression on me. I went to Oklahoma State, orange, black, OSU. I just try to always keep my life as simple as I possibly can. Just kidding. It was, one of the things when I was coming up through the coaching ranks, I'd always kind of, I'd get a request for an interview or things like that. And I always was a little bit stingy on where I wanted to kind of plant my flag. And I really did believe in the history and tradition in Corvallis. I saw Les Gutches as one of my heroes. And I was really blown away because there's a guy that works in our fundraising department, Jeff Pivick. Uh-huh. Jeff and I actually shared a wall in the University of Wyoming. We worked together at ASU, and then he came here to Oregon State. And I remember when I sat down with him, and I was sat with him and his wife and watched a women's basketball game. I was like, wow, you guys really have passionate fans. And this is the kind of place that I really could thrive in because it reminded me a lot of Stillwater when I was younger, a little bit of a small town, but I love small town feel. And I love that we're able to be a part of the community at the collegiate level.
Yeah. And the wrestling program is such a rich history. Tell me about your team and just, this is your chance to just brag on these guys a little bit.
Sure. We're coming in. I think the last couple of years has been a lot of, craziness, as you guys are always talking about in college athletics, transfer portal, NIL, things like that, where we've had an opportunity to kind of start building and redshirting some good pieces last year. We had a kid from Westland, Oregon, Justin Rademacher, who just went from a one-time state champion in Oregon. He's just bought into everything we believed and we preach. This summer, I had the fortunate to go with him over to Sofia, Bulgaria, where he won a world title, really walked through the world championships where we had 3 athletes competing, all of them coming off a red shirt. So this should be one of our deeper teams that we have talent-wise. And we're getting ready to open the season November 2nd at the Princeton Open. So we're going to hop on a flight from Portland to Newark and bank those miles, but go hopefully beat up on some smart kids.
Talk to me about the portal because, I know basketball's kind of a different animal in that, that you have guys that come in one and done, or football now is kind of just really started to happen with. Has the transfer portal been a big thing for you guys, or do you find that you were okay?
Wrestling, I think, just looking back from the early 90s when 80s, 90s when Title IX really hit, I think that wrestling had automatically became a very sport. We were very proactive with our funding and our fundraising, and so things like that with NIL and all that. NIL and all that. It is a very big part of the landscape with portal, and I'll just kind of give the good and bad, because with NIL, with the transfer portal, there's some good to it, and then there's a lot of bad to it. And we had a kid last year, his name was Ethan Stiles. He had gotten into some trouble in Nebraska. We brought him in. We literally poured all of our attention and resources in helping build him back. And halfway through the season, he got in a little bit of trouble where I ended up having to fly him home from a tournament and really kind of tell him, like, hey, this is not the way we do things here, and this is the path forward. He literally spent the next month and a half volunteering in our youth programs, doing all the things that really changed his life around, became a great student, was lucky enough to get on the podium, took, I think, 4th or 5th place as a freshman, and then immediately you start seeing bigger schools start following him on social media, this and that, and he came to my office and said, so-and-so threw that much money at him, and, thank you for everything, but I think I'm going to move on. He transferred to Ohio State, who we wrestle January 4th. So there's good to the transfer portal and bad transfer portal. If somebody needs a new circumstance or they're just not happy, those are obviously things that the transfer portal is there for. Just to become a free agent, that's kind of the bad part of it. Yeah. So there's still a lot of coaches that still believe deeply in like the true meaning of college athletics is preparing young men and women for the rest of their lives. And it's something that we do as a staff. We love that. We have, one of the highest team GPAs on campus. We led the nation with 9 academic All-Americans last year. And I know that the guys, they're going to go out and scrap on the mat, but I know that after their time to hang their shoes up, they're going to be ready for life.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think we've lost sight of that in a lot of ways in college athletics with all this money thrown. I mean, it's no longer going out and spending 4 or 5 years at a university and getting your degree there. It's
a little sad when I see that. I have to tell kids in the short term that amount of money might sound like a big deal, but one of the coolest things I got to do is I got to go get inducted into my Hall of Fame, and I got to take my wife and my kids and show them dad's on the wall, and I got to dust off a Letterman jacket that might be a little snug now. I squeezed in there, and those are the things that we do for college athletics. It's not just about you; it's about the institution. And I hope that the kids that stick through thick and thin know how much they're appreciated by their coaches and the fans.
Absolutely. So along that line, NIL it's been a really hot topic, with Oregon State just the past week or two. It's been a lot going on. Tell me about what can fans do to help wrestling? If fans out there, and there's so many questions about damnation and things going on, but it's important that the funds get to you guys right now. Yeah. So how can they help?
It's obviously a very sensitive topic around the department, and I would just like to kind of say a couple things. Is remember, there's always 2 sides to a story. Especially when stories come out and, coaches and administrators, we don't really all the time get a chance to really kind of set the record straight and defend ourselves. There's families that are always involved, kids that are always involved. So when fans are frustrated, I totally understand. And that's the nature of our business, why we put our big boy pants and we come in for the good and the bad. But I think that a little bit of the negativity the last couple of weeks was just reminding people that, hey, there's some people that are human beings and there's always multiple sides to the story. I won't say too much about it, but I can tell you here's one for you, Angie, that you'll get a chuckle out of. Is I always gave Brent a really hard time because he had no wrestlers up in his office. He had a picture of one student athlete in his office, a Blaylock, and it was Gary Payton. When people want to send a hand of God, true. Okay. So when people want to take a snippet, this is what it is.
Yes.
Sometimes people can't respond and say, by the way, I was like, I'm a little less PC, so I'd have took a picture and slapped it right on my Twitter.
Exactly, right?
You guys can say a lot of things.
Well, that's the nature of social media and media now is everybody's taking snippets of everything.
Disgruntled people can spin a big story. Yes. Big story. So there's still a lot of people that really care about the student athletes in this building that work tirelessly, and I really feel blessed to be here. As far as damnation and our collective and our NIL, I think we're very proactive. We have a lot of different avenues that we go. We have our endowment fund that I think has made me sleep a lot better at night, that older coaches have worked on. I think that with wrestling, what we tell our donors and our administration and our fans is every single dollar is always going to go back to the student athlete, and you're really impacting people's lives. We're not trying to buy Maseratis or Porsches or anything like that. I don't know how many first generation college students I have on my team. The number is significantly high, and we always just want to go and just give back to our kids, give them NIL opportunities that they were paying the rent, keeping the lights on, giving guys like Justin Rademacher NIL opportunities that he gets to go to Sofia, Bulgaria, get to go travel with Team USA because he's a medal threat for the 2028. So anybody that wants to help out, look, unfortunately my email's online, so you feel free.
Well, good. Yeah, that's something I feel really strongly about this whole thing too, about the snippets, because that is one of the reasons I really wanted to have. I did a special sit down with Brent Blaylock and with Scott Barnes. Both have taken a lot of heat lately, and I wanted to do a sit down with them where they could explain things in their own terms and, really kind of get the word out, because it is when you're sitting behind the desk and honestly, when things are going rough in football, I think it just kind of makes everybody kind of in a little bit of a feisty mood. But you guys are doing great things in wrestling. First home meet, you said you're going to Princeton. First home meet is November 16th, Utah Valley. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And then you have some pretty good schools coming into Corvallis as well, right?
Yeah, last year we started the season off with the number 2 and 3 in the country, and do like anytime, anywhere, anytime, anyone, anywhere. But at the end of the day, the staff and I felt that we needed to focus a little bit more on tournaments and get our experience up a little bit more before we start heading into the meat of our season. I think January 4th or 5th, I can't remember off the top of my head, we have Ohio State coming, their top 5 ranked team. We'll have the elevated stage. We're going to be, our biggest thing is we always like to create the best environment that we can for fans and, our athletes to have those memories. But we also are getting to that point now. It's time to start knocking some of these guys off.
Nice. Spencer, Davis, you guys have any questions?
Yeah, well, Chris, it's really nice to meet you. What do you feel like, how does team chemistry play into the sport of wrestling? Because I don't have a wrestling background, but I'm always really curious how that works.
That's a great question. I think that people look at wrestling as a very individual sport, but I have to remind people why it's an individual. Individually, it's probably one of the most revealing sports that there is. I think if anybody has been around 2 5-year-olds, you lock them in a room for a little while and you go and you start cooking, you're going to start hearing screaming and hollering, and they're going to be going at each other just because it's human nature. I think with the culture and the camaraderie this is a hard sport. It's a combat sport. If you're a UFC fan, look how many wrestlers are dominating the UFC. You're going to be really mixing it up. There's going to be blood, sweat, and tears. And when I say blood, sweat, and tears, I don't know in which order they're going to come, but they're going to come. And I'm not. Always look like I get punched in the face, and I was like, no, I'm just a wrestling coach. So when you're going through those highs and lows, and you're getting beat up, the sounding boards and the people that you're surrounding yourself with are crucial. The NCAA changed the rule last year about our roster limitations and dropped everybody to 30. We were carrying about 44. And the first couple times I walked in the room, I was like, God, where's my team? But the last couple months, I've been really enjoying the lower roster numbers, because you just get to build relationships with kids a little bit more. And it's taking a little bit of that business aspect out of it, where you have to kind of always invest in people, invest. Well, when I'm investing 44, I have to focus on the guys that are getting out there in front of our fans and that are competing for Oregon State. So those people that weren't getting the one-on-one attention, and I always felt bad about it. But now it's easier for each coach to have their hands on the kid, ask them about their day, ask them how they're, how's your mama doing? All those kind of little small questions and conversations to have. So the team culture has been absolutely phenomenal. We had a amazing preseason, and one of the things that happened was 2 of my GAs that just graduated, they pulled me aside and told me that last year they weren't really thrilled about the training plan. They thought I was getting a little soft. So unfortunately for this group, they got to have the other hand of it, but they've been eating it up and they've been making the right choices. So I've been extremely happy with them.
That's awesome. Okay, so that brought up. So again, wrestling. My grandpa and my dad wrestled. You know, my grandpa was actually like in Portland wrestling way back, like old days. But I don't know a lot about it. But my 17-year-old son, is really into UFC. Have you seen wrestling maybe make a more of a resurgence now with the popularity of UFC?
Yeah, definitely. There's people that when I'm going through the airports and things, people stop me and ask me, where I fight at.
Okay.
And I say, I'm not a fighter. I'm just ugly. So there's that. But it's definitely bringing more eyeballs to the sport. I think that how many people are from wrestling backgrounds are continuing to dominate at the elite level. And I think one of the exciting things for me, because I'm a wrestling junkie, but the average person isn't, is you're starting to see some of the other international people, like the guys from Dagestan, Chechnya, Iran, people that we were all like American wrestlers, like, man, those are tough human beings. Where they come from and go to Chechnya, it's not a vacation destination. It's rough and tough. Then the average UFC fan sees like a guy like, Khabib, and they're like, where did this guy come from? I was like, no, he was literally wrestling bears in the mountains. There's videos on it. Find him on YouTube. He's a tough human being. So I think it's just helping the sport grow as a whole.
Yeah, like I said, Saturday nights, half the time you guys find me now. When this is what happens when you have two boys. You watch.
I was actually roommates with. I always get a fun chuckle when I see him out there. My brother-in-law, Dan Henderson, H-Bomb, he actually trained right here in Corvallis in the when you're in college. Yeah. He's actually out here with him and Randy Couture. So Oregon State Wrestling has some deep MMA.
Deep tie. Anyway, okay, well, we have some good comments. OSU Wrestling kicks ass. And Yahoo for Coach Pendleton, the wrestling team, as well as the rest of OSU athletics that rarely get exposure they deserve. So I promised you 10 minutes, and we're almost to 20. So I need to let you go because this has been a lot of fun, and I'm so glad you agreed to come on with us. And if you're a Beaver fan watching, make sure you get out and support the wrestling program. I'm actually going to come down. I've actually told my son we're going to come down and watch maybe that Ohio State.
Let's go. We hope to have 9,000 people in attendance again. We had that for our Penn State match, I think last year. Oklahoma State, Iowa, we were averaging around 8. So we want to kind of put butts in the seat and put on a good show for you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us, Coach Pendleton. And again, get out there and support OSU wrestlers, guys. It's going to be a fun year. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
That was fun.
That was awesome.
Super fun. Oh, people are saying that the audio is a little choppy. You guys good? You guys hear everything good?
Good on my end.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the comments. Keep them coming, but everything looks like it's checking out here. So, okay, it's smoothed out. Somebody said perfect. Okay, that was awesome. I'm really glad we got to bring him on. We're going to try to bring some other folks on as the podcast kind of progresses. We're in this mode of moving on or adding to, but let's get back into it. We got wrestling spoken about. So let's go into football. Because it's been a couple weeks, guys. We haven't been able to get together. Oregon State won, beat Lafayette. Davis was out of town. Spencer was out of town. You guys missed the big win. Kaz was there, but now Kaz is gone today.
I was there for that game.
Were you at you were at Lafayette. That's right. Kaz was at Wake Forest. That's right.
Yeah.
Spencer was out of town. Spencer, you want to tell everybody kind of where you were real quick?
Yeah, my wife and I, we were married about 3 years ago. We did our unofficial honeymoon, and we went over to Ireland for a week, and then I went and did some DJ stuff over in Amsterdam for a week. So I'm operating on about 3 hours of sleep in the last 2 days. So go Beavs.
Rock star. Yes, and actually it was Spencer who said, "Are we going to get a podcast going?" So he is ready to go. He's running on coffee and adrenaline right now. But so yes, football, big win over Lafayette. Where we saw Jabari Johnson and Anthony Hankerson really kind of bust out that second half. We won't talk too much about all that. We have Washington State coming to town. What are you guys excited to see about this week with Washington State coming to town? Davis.
I'm excited to see who starts at quarterback. I mean, I saw Aki named it, but won't release who it was. But I'm hoping it's going to be Jabari. I mean, I've been hoping. I've been wanting him to start for the past like 3 weeks. So
You actually have.
yeah, when he got in and got to play, I mean, it showed. It might not have been solely on him, but the offense was more fast paced. So I liked that.
The energy was definitely way higher. Spencer, what do you want to see this week against Washington State?
Yeah, I want to take that second half momentum we got. And look, I don't really care it was against an FCS team. The fact that they had energy and momentum and that they were smiling told me everything. So my hope is that Rob Akey can harness that energy and that positivity and just bring it in Oregon State. To Washington State. We know we have the talent, and now it's time to put it all together. And I feel like we're on a better trajectory than where we were, and I think Washington State's going to be in for a surprise.
Yeah, it was I think way at halftime. Oregon State goes into half with they were losing by 3 points. It was, I think, 13-10, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Davis. And everybody, and there were so many little mistakes, and we were all kind of like, okay, it could have been really easy for the team to kind of pack it in, but to come back the way they did and play the way they were expected to play against an FCS opponent. Showed a lot. And yes, the post-game interview. So if you haven't been in the media room in the Valley Football Center, one whole wall is glass where the players can like leave the locker room. And as they walked by, just the smiles, and they'd pound on the glass and give Coach Akey the thumbs up, and just the big grin. So I did, Davis and I were down at basketball media day last Tuesday. There were groups of guys out practicing on their own. They all smiles all the way around. So hopefully that energy now transforms. Today was their first day back on the practice field as a group. So that will be interesting to see. I'll give my hot take. My hot take, and it's probably not a hot take, but is Babari does start, Davis. So that's my hot take. We'll get to hot takes later. But Washington State is a hot team right now. So it'll be a one to watch, definitely. But I think probably on more Beaver fans' minds right now is the whole coaching search and what's going on with that. A lot going on. The committee was named during before our last or after our last podcast. We have the hot board that keeps getting updated on Beaver Blitz, and it's been kind of an exciting time. So I'll go through some new names that we've added, and I was telling Spencer before we went live, it's a fine balance because I have contacts now. This is 20 years of football. Contacts all over the country. So I get names sent to me like this guy. Sometimes it's agents wanting to throw their clients out or, get their client's name out. Sometimes it's legit. Sometimes it's wishful thinking. And so I don't put every single name that I get. And it's a fine balance of, I don't want to just throw hype out there, but trying to keep it a little realistic too. Some new names that we have put on in the past week. Jamarcus Shepard. He's the Bama co-offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach. Paul Christ, former Oregon State offensive coordinator, head coach from Wisconsin, has not been in coaching for a couple years. Tosh Lupoy, Cal's defensive coordinator. Brennan Marion, Sac State's head coach. Brian Harsin, Cal's OC. You guys have any thoughts on any of those guys? Davis.
I mean, we talked about Jamarcus Shepard a little bit. I mean, he coached and recruited Roma Dunze. He's recruited and coached Ryan Williams. I mean, Michael Penix, Ty Simpson. I mean, he has a good resume of players.
Yeah.
I mean, he's young too. I think he's a good name. Brent Vigen, how do you say?
Yeah, Vigen.
Yeah.
Montana State's head coach.
Yeah, Montana State head coach. I think he's also would be a really good hire.
Spencer, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards having a younger guy with a lot of energy. And, I say our fan base needs to be re-engaged again. Love him or hate him, Dan Lang is doing a great job at that. Yeah. And I feel like we're in our fan base is so passionate and so smart when it comes to like analyzing what's going on. Like they would really appreciate that. And I think that the fan base would ultimately filter down to the donors, and the donors would then get excited. But I think more importantly, I do believe it's important to have someone with the transfer portal background and NIL background, because, you see it with, I don't know. I love the guy from Sac State, even the guy from Eric Morris down in North Texas. Like just having that connection with the younger players and that age gap is a little less. I feel like that could really help us right now.
Yeah, Eric Morris is an interesting one because I haven't put him on the hot board yet because his buyout's like over $2.5 million, I believe, and two, I really do think I think Okie State's top target, and I don't think Oregon State is going to be able to win any kind of salary battles with the Cowboys. I don't know. I've been toying with putting him on the hot board. I just think he's going to have his pick of some better more high profile jobs. Like Davis said, and Spencer, I like the youth. I hear someone that said Brian Harson's the clear pick for me. And I think when you start looking at all these, they all have pluses and minuses. And Spencer and I talked about that before we went live, in that, okay, you get someone that maybe has a whole staff they could bring. They know who they bring. Or do you go with someone that's going to build a staff around them? So there's also some names I'm watching that could become available. And so here's one I'm going to throw out at you. I think Davis and I talked about this a little bit. What do you do if Jonathan Smith gets fired at Michigan State and he wants to come back? What do you do? Spencer?
If that happens, he's going to have to reconcile with the fan base. There's no question. He's going to have to come out and say, listen, here's what happened, whatever, and I don't know if an official apology is necessary, but he's going to have to work for
Rumbling it. Says no. Yeah. Davis, what about you?
I would agree with Rumbling. I say no. I think he's a traitor. I think he was a great coach here, but I would not want him back after what he did, how he left.
He burnt the bridge, and best of luck elsewhere. So yeah, Rumbling has Brent Biggin as his pick. I actually think that would be probably the top of mine too, just because he comes with a system. He would have a staff in place that knows the route or knows ins and outs. I had another question here I wanted to get to asking, and I can't find it now, but it was asking about the makeup of the search committee. I actually love the makeup of the search committee. I know Spencer, I don't know if you might have been overseas when this came out, but
I did. I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically you have a couple football guys with Brandon Cooks and Mike Riley. And then you have big booster / business people at Oregon State with Marty Reeser. Nikki Newberger is a former student athlete, but she's also brand manager, VP of brands at Lululemon. Joth Rickey is the Burgerville CEO, formerly at Dutch Bros, another alumni. I'm missing somebody. John Steerick, a bank CEO, another big time Beaver within the foundation. I love the makeup because when you look at Oregon State football, it is its own actual business. It's an enterprise in its own right, even underneath athletics. So I think having some of those business minds in place, and also their stakeholders, they're big time boosters, big time donors that understand Oregon State. They understand what it takes to run a successful business. And then you have, like I said, Brandon Cooks and Mike Riley, again, understand the importance of Oregon State and what it takes to be successful here. So I love the makeup. I hope that Scott Barnes takes their input seriously, and I hope he listens to them, and it's not just a committee of, to appease fans. Spencer?
Yeah, I love the makeup that they brought in business guys, because like that's, in general fundraising, friends want to have their other friends donate, and so to have skin in the game with those guys, even though, with having alum status, they can attract potentially donors that we don't know about yet. So I just love that.
Yeah. Davis, any thoughts on the committee?
I like it. I think it's good having former players and coaches. And I mean, all the names on there, like Reeser, like it's just names that Beaver Nation knows, like, and they're true Beaver Nation.
Yeah. And I think I think it was smart of Scott Barnes to do this too, because, you're bringing in a group of people that are very invested in Oregon State and bleed orange and black, just like all the fans do. And they're not just, it's not just a voluntary thing for them. They're doing this because they love Oregon State. And so I think just having fans' voices represented by some very influential and knowledgeable people, I think is great. So that's all of our 2 cents, and I've heard some people actually criticizing it online, and I kind of am surprised by that because, like I said, I think it's a fantastic makeup, and I saw somebody thought they needed more people, but if you guys have ever served on committees, you get too many people, you can't get anything done. So they did meet. I did hear they met the first time last Tuesday. I'm not a member of the committee, so I don't know exactly what went down, but they did meet. They are actively doing their Zoom meetings, and search committee is also not the search committee. Sorry, the search firm is out as well. So things are moving behind the scenes. It is quiet as far as what's out publicly right now, because most of the talk with sitting coaches is going to be via agents, because ads aren't allowed to talk to coaches. So it's all back channel stuff going on right now, and hopefully as the season goes on, we can have some more info for you. But no, we are covering it. We update. This is kind of all of our attention right now is on this coaching search. It's all my attention right now. So we drop info in the Logic Beaver Blitz when we get it. We're going to take a quick break for the podcast side, but when we get back, we're going to talk some basketball, because the basketball teams also kick off next week. If you're not a member of Beaver Blitz, now's the time to join. Join with an annual membership and save 50% off an annual membership. Okay, welcome back to the Dan Podcast second half. We are going to talk some basketball because Davis and I were able to go sit and watch. We watched an entire practice for Media Day. Spencer's been spending several different times with the men's basketball program, watching practice and doing his backstory interviews, which if you're not reading them, they've been fantastic, Spencer. So thank you for those. I'm excited about basketball, and I that's not something I say every year. Davis, we'll start with you first because you were at Media Day. We watched a practice. Give me just your initial thoughts after seeing a practice of this group.
They're pretty high energy, and one thing that stood out, and I guess one player, Malcolm Christie, he shot lights out. I was keeping track, like in my head, of how many shots he was, like his percentage, and I saw him miss like 2 threes the entire practice. I mean, he's just a crazy good shooter. And another player that stood out was Mattia Samar. I mean, I didn't know much about him until going to the practice, but he seemed to be a really good ball handler. Just like it seems like he'll be a big part of the team this year.
Yeah, super high energy. Spencer, you've actually been to a couple practices. Give us your thoughts heading into the season that starts next week.
I think their guard play is going to be pretty dynamic. I mean, you've got Mattia, you've got JoJo, you've got Des White, who we haven't talked about yet. I think he could be a sniper of a shooter. And then who are the other guys? And then of course Malcolm. I've been high on Malcolm ever since he played against us at the Diamond Head Classic last year when he was playing for Oakland. I think he's probably the elder statesman of the group. I think he's the oldest. And he's just a good kid. When I sat down with him and got to know him, I was very struck about how well-spoken he was and just how much enthusiasm he had, not only for his own opportunities this year, but for the teams. And over the course of the last several weeks, everyone that I've talked to, and I know maybe they're supposed to say this, but it's been a consistent message that there aren't a lot of holes in this team where there have been holes in the past. So I'm really excited to see these guys continue to gel. You know, I talked to a few of them after the exhibition, and, you know, they're like, you know, we had a good showing, but there's still a lot to improve upon. Jorge Graham Diaz especially reiterated that. He's like, we've got so much more to improve on. Knowing where they are now and knowing where they could be is really exciting. So yeah, Monday's tip-off. So let's go.
Yes, I know. What I came away with is just how unselfish this team is.
Yes.
Very unselfish, very team first. And you hear that a lot from all teams, right? Oh, we have great chemistry. Oh, we're brotherhood, but they really seem to show it and you know, yes, the media was there. But even Coach Tinkle, when he spoke to us, he said, you know, that hasn't always been the case. And you don't really see it until you get on the practice court and well, then it starts to show. But high energy, but then, like I said, unselfish. Lots of great ball handling. The threes. Davis and I just kept laughing. We just look, and it was actually kind of funny. My son Jack, you guys hear me talk about him, my senior. It like hit him last night. He was sitting he came home from school and he's like, "Mom, I just realized Malcolm Christie he was that guy that wore like the sport goggles and was like shooting lights out at the and I'm like, yeah, Jack, that's the one. So it was kind of funny that the light bulb went off for Jack there, but I'm excited. Like I said, and I have not said that about men's basketball in a while. So a fun group. And the hospitality they showed, we talk about Oregon State athletics, and I've been around a long time, and I love all the, the players. You kind of, you forget sometimes when you're covering them that they're all just kids, they're all 18 to 22-year-olds, but I'm always blown away when I get to talk to them. Davis and I spoke to several of them, and just how mature they are and how gracious they are with their time. I had a couple of them came over and just said, thanks for coming to, practice, and just genuine. So I think that's fun. Coach Tinkle told a little story about their first road trip. They did a little exhibition down at St. Mary's a couple weekends ago. He said they were in Eugene Airport, and part of being a D1 student athlete is giving of yourself and giving of your time. And they said they were in the airport in Eugene, and a family with a little boy came over. He was like 4, and was taking his first flight. They were just flying to Portland and back just so the little boy could take a flight. But he saw these guys, and the entire team circled up. Coach Tinkle didn't have to go tell him to take a picture. They all got around him and talked to him. And those kind of things are huge. Made a lasting memory probably for that little guy. So I'm excited, and hopefully good things come for them, because they're definitely working hard. Women's basketball as well. Tips off. They were actually picked to win the WCC this year. Spencer, you've talked to a couple of those gals. What are your thoughts with that group?
Yeah, unfortunately, Kat Ferrara went down. That was a huge loss. So I don't know if that was taken into account for when the standing or the preseason standings came out, but I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the year. I think Kennedy Schuler is primed to really drive this team vocally and leadership-wise. Word on the street, and I've talked to Tiara Bolden a couple times, her shot is lights out this year. She changed a little bit of her motion, and she is just dropping shots all day long. And so and they've got a couple new bigs playing this year. These girls are gelling. I talked to Kennedy quite a bit about like how they're gelling, and they're doing lots of karaoke nights and charcuterie board nights, and they do so well communicating with each other, making themselves feel comfortable around each other. I think that was one thing that Kennedy really reiterated with me, how well they're gelling. So I'm very excited to see. Yes, Kat being out is a blow, but I think they're going to have the talent to make that up in the end. And I see a long run for these girls coming.
Yeah, that was something with the guys too, was just that, that used to, they talked about in the past, a couple guys would hang out here or there, but like this whole team's getting together, and they had like a pumpkin carving contest recently. So it's fun to see these guys also be college kids in college, whether it's charcuterie. Go ahead, Spencer.
One thing I'll say about the men's team is, you mentioned the example of the 4-year-old at the Eugene Airport. It's not one guy just driving that. It's a bunch of guys, and they're all working together to like, hey, let's go hang out with this kid or say hi to this kid. It's not just one guy. So I feel like that's going to translate onto the court of having a lot of different leaders, but not too many cooks in the kitchen, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, we have some fans here that they're not going to be excited for a Tinkle-led team, but I'll be impressed if they finish in the top 3 of the WCC. So I don't know, guys. Like I said, there's just like Coach Pendleton said earlier, there's a lot of hate I think sometimes gets spread around, but maybe give him a shot, because it's an entirely different crew. So yes, and I get it. You said in another comment that they have to earn that respect and relevance, but give them a shot, because these kids are working really hard, and the coaches' staff is as well. So I am excited. Like I said, it's the first time I've said that in a while about basketball. Transitioning over, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but John Canzano did have a report yesterday, and we talked. I sat down and talked with Brent Blaylock in depth about the Blueprint Sports deal when that came out. They announced today, Oregon State did announce that Brent Blaylock was leaving to pursue other interests, so he is no longer there. Canzano also reported that Oregon State is working to unwind, and that's in quotes. They said unwind the Blueprint Sports deal. So I don't, Scott Stewart, Blaylock is gone as of today. And then, yes, they're apparently, according to John Canzano, working to get out of the Blueprint Sports deal. So interesting time there. It's going to cost Oregon State. I don't know what the buyout was for Blaylock, but it sounds like, according to John, it will cost the department anywhere from $150,000 to $284,000 to get out of the Blueprint contract. So not ideal, but it looks like things are kind of coming back together there. I don't have a ton of info on, what that means for Damnation NIL, because Blueprint did buy that. So I hope to have more answers and more clarity on that by next podcast, or in the Lodge. We'll be keeping up on that, but just thought it was worth talking about for just a second. I do want to get to hot takes, though. We don't have Kaz, and I should have asked Kaz for his hot take before we jumped on. I don't think we're going to do betting today because Kaz has not done well in the betting game, but Davis, have you done any better?
No, not. Well, probably better than Cass. I haven't done much good though.
Goodness. Okay. Well, like I said, Kaz. So, Spencer, you start us off with your hot takes.
My hot take for the week is the Oregon State run game is going to explode this weekend against Washington State. Yeah, I know we only have one game of doing that, and Hank ran for 200 against an FCS school, but I don't know. This is what we've been looking for, and I feel like with Rob Akey's energy and his enthusiasm, we're going to see a different run game, and which will also open up the pass game more for Gabari, and Gabari can run, and that's going to be a very dynamic offense.
Yeah, he can move. Did I answer your question? There's my Rob Akey for you. Did I answer your question?
Did I answer?
Yeah, did I answer your question? Okay, Davis, let's hear your hot take.
Well, that was a good one, but I'll say
is yours better?
No, probably not. Well, hopefully. I say the Beavers offense gets things rolling, and we win out the rest of the season.
Okay, that is a hot take.
Yeah.
So we got Washington State, Sam Houston, Tulsa, and Washington State. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Finish with 5 wins. My hot take is Jabari Johnson's going to start. That's my hot take.
I like that hot take a lot.
That's my hot take. Okay, we got some damn questions before we let everybody go. Anybody have any other comments before we transition out damn questions, or any comments? You two?
No.
No? Okay. We're going to go 2. I'm just looking at comments here. Yeah, Fred Lay says Washington State has looked good against some good teams on the road, Davis.
Yeah, they have.
You're sticking with it, though. I mean, they almost beat Ole Miss.
And Virginia. They do look really good.
And Virginia. I'm a big Lane. If I was picking a coach, just money was no object, I'd go Lane Kiffin. But there's my other hot take, but that's not happening. So I'm a team Lane train right here. Okay. Damn questions. We have Beaver Fan 2021 with Murphy struggling and likely being back up to Bari rest of the season. Do you feel like that will hurt OSU's chances of landing transfer portal guys in the future? Dave or Spencer?
I don't think so. I think this was, dare I say, one-off. I don't know. With Malik, there was that picture taken of him just sitting on the sideline by himself, just looking up at the scoreboard, and I honestly felt a little bad for him. I don't know if that picture said everything that was actually going on, but no, I think we get the momentum back, win a few more games, hire a very good coach at the end of this thing, and that we're not going to skip a beat on that. Yes, we might have quote unquote whiffed. Who am I to say that? But I feel good about people still wanting to come here and play at a very, very high level.
Davis, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt OSU's transfer portal. I mean, you think about it, Jabari is also a transfer portal guy. Got him from Mizzou. So, and also Malik Murphy had 7 games. He had his opportunity coming in, and he just didn't play well. But I don't think it'll hurt the transfer portal much. I think we'll still, I don't know, whoever the coach is, I think we'll still have the same opportunities to bring in those guys.
Yeah, I think I agree. And that's, you can't really even judge now because it'll be a different coaching staff for the most, so it's hard to, that new coaching staff is going to be completely different and have a different pitch than, this current staff. So, at the end of the day, people are looking so much for opportunity. There's always, the dominoes are always falling. So you always have either guys looking to bump up a level or two to play, or they're struggled at one spot. So I actually like the guys. I'm trying to grab the guys that maybe were lighting it up at a lower level and, get those guys. But you always have people looking for opportunity. And I like Spencer said, you feel bad for, when a kid struggles, and quarterback's one of those tough positions too, because nobody's more popular on the team than the quarterback when they're winning, and nobody's less popular than the quarterback when you're losing. So it's a tough position. You're kind of on an island there for a lot of it. And I think he was under even a bigger microscope because of how much money he was being paid. But I guess you take solace in the fact that he was paid very handsomely to come and come to Oregon State. So, and hopefully he invested that well. Southern Beef, with Damnation owned by Blueprint, what happens to any donations they still have? And asking about the links and such. This is a question where, like I said, we're going to need to figure out kind of the logistics of what happens now with Damnation, since I believe Blueprint owns that name now, owns the rights. So that is not clear right now. You guys haven't heard anything about that?
Yeah, I defer to you on this one.
Yeah. So that is some legwork. Like I said, this is all happening, today, yesterday afternoon, today. I think that's some stuff that's still being logistically worked out. So if you're planning to donate to the NIL, I say hold off for like a week. Just kind of let's figure out where it should go, and hopefully Oregon State will come out with kind of an explanation of how to donate, where to go. And I guess I always defer to, if you don't know, if you want to give to the program, you give to our Beaver Nation. Go through the foundation. That's going to student athletes and the program. So our Beaver Nation, there's a link right on osubeavers.com. So Idaho Beef fan, where are we with NIL? And that's again adding to the question. We had a lot of NIL questions this week. So that is one again that we're trying to figure out. How much money? I know that the goal is $7.5 million, and that's from my conversation. Scott Barnes 2 weeks ago, I sat down with him, and he said that the goal was to raise about $7.5 million for NIL. So, and that's across the board for all sports. Obviously, they can raise up as $20.5 million, I believe, under the House settlement. So there's a lot of room that they could raise more. Blodgett Beeve, are there rumblings if there will be a new Pac-12 championship game? If so, where it will be played? There is going to be a Pac-12 championship game starting next year. I don't know specifics, except that CBS will be the ones showing that, broadcasting. So I don't know where the plan is to play it, but there will be next year. Next year's important. Spencer and I were talking about this. Davis, how important do you think this coaching staff is to get right? I mean, I feel that this coaching hire for Scott Barnes is maybe the biggest hire he's going to have to make, maybe ever, and maybe the most important in Oregon State in a long, long time.
Yeah, I'd agree. You're going into a new conference where you're supposed to be like one of the top dogs in it. I mean, you're one of the only schools in it that's been Power 5. But yeah, I think this is the most important hiring going into the new conference. You need to be top dog, or at least in the upper half. You need to get the right hire, get the right guy. And it goes for all sports. I mean, we need to be ready for this new conference, and we need to be one of the top dogs in every sport, I would say.
Absolutely. Spencer?
Well, maybe this is my hot take, but this is the most important football hire that we've had, because it's not about next year. It's about when realignment comes up in 2030, 2031. Like, if we're not positioned at that point, we're going to be quote unquote relegated, essentially. So we need to do this. Has got to be the right move. We have to make the right hire now because the next 5 years are
5 years.
absolutely critical for our future as a college football school.
Yeah, and like David said, I agree. It's everywhere. I mean, it's the whole program, Oregon State athletics, because Oregon State and Washington State are kind of coming in as the top dog. We were the Power 4 team. All these other programs now are going to be nipping at heels, wanting to be there and have that chip on their shoulder and I think Oregon State maybe needs to change the attitude, change the marketing, change the message, change everything about the little guy. You know, we're going from being kind of the bottom part of the Pac-12, the bottom in spending and budgets, to now being the top dog, as Davis said. So let's change that messaging and let's go out and kind of be the bully. Let's be the ones that everyone's aiming to be. But yes, Spencer, I agree. I think this hire is the most important hire for football that I've seen, just because of the importance overall. And as we said, football is, and I know we talk football a lot here. And like I said, we're trying to bring other people, other coaches on, because I want Oregon State coaches to all, be able to talk here. But football is what's going to fund everybody. So if football's winning, it'll help all the other sports too. So that's the plan. This one, I think all eyes are on this one. So, and the number of dominoes that are falling, you guys watch every Sunday, the number of coaches that get fired, it's crazy. Brian Kelly last week. And then the buyout. I mean, I think about the money now that's being, and just buyouts and then, finding a new coach. So
yeah, I saw something this morning. There was 10 coaches for like 165 million.
I was going to say it was like 165, something like that. Yeah. But that's just buyouts. Now all those schools not only have to pay the buyout, they have to pay the going rate for the new coach. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me. I can't even. Something's got to kind of. I don't know. I can't see that being sustainable for forever.
No.
I mean, if this is the wild, wild west of buyouts, Kirk Cignetti, like take it and run. I mean, that guy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then, but this is where I like. So Indiana just signed him to some long, big 8-year deal. Again, if I'm an AD, I don't really want to lock people in for that long, because Cignetti is 2 years removed now from potentially having a down year, which is going to happen just with the ebbs and flows of roster management. And so, and the way, I mean, firing James Franklin after taking the CFP just, 9 months ago. It just, I mean, so then Indiana's tying themselves to Cignetti, and who's to say in 2 years or 3 years, if he has a rough year, the boosters aren't going to be up in arms to get rid of him. It's crazy talk. So that's another whole, when people start talking about, well, I don't want that guy because that will be a stepping stone job. I say every job is a stepping stone, or you're not married to anybody for too long anymore, because they're either going to be, and you actually hope it's a stepping stone, because that means they're doing such a good job that they're going to move on, as opposed to you getting stuck with someone who's not performing.
And being a stepping stone, we hear that all the time now. I don't know if that's a bad thing, because that coach, if he's using our job as a stepping stone, he's going to have someone that he's brought in with him, and that person could,
exactly. You bring in a guy, he leaves, but his OC gets promoted, or his DC gets, and the system stays in play. Seth Hatmaker, the payouts are insane. $50 million to not meet a benchmark. It is crazy. Pick the wrong business, guys. I should have, instead of running Beaver Blitz, I should have been a college football coach. Yeah, here, Fred Lay, exactly. Stepping stone means something good is happening to OSU. So anyway, I think at the end of the day, this is a big one. So we'll keep you guys apprised. Make sure you're following Davis on Twitter, Spencer, myself, Kaz Smith, who is not with us right now, but we'll be back next week. And again, join Beaver Blitz. We're all there. We're all adding insight. Things are going to get even busier now with winter sports kicking up. So Davis and Spencer, hope you're ready to rock and roll. Until then, I'm Angie. He's Spencer. He's Davis. Join us again next week for another episode of the Damn Podcast.